Hi there, I'm Ian Jukes. At the completion of this session, you'll have a better understanding as to why we're called Committed Sardines, and you'll learn what steps you can take to personally become committed. But before we begin, I want to welcome you to the Committed Sardine YouTube channel. So I want to start by talking about change. Change in our world, change in our communities, change in our families, and change in our schools. Look, we all know change can be hard, that both individually and collectively, change is always a work in progress. We're never done. And it's really easy to feel absolutely overwhelmed by the daily challenges we all face, particularly in the difficult times like we're experiencing now. Feeling overwhelmed is completely normal because the process of change is inevitably messy and doesn't happen overnight. I'll let you in on a little family secret. Whenever we're feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of life, there's a special place we like to go to recharge our batteries. It's the Monterey Aquarium in Monterey, California. It's one of the world's greatest aquariums. On a recent visit, we happened to walk into the gift shop where they were playing an absolutely incredible video about the blue whale, the largest mammal on the planet. The video shared some amazing facts about the blue whale. For example, did you know that an adult blue whale is about the length of 3 passenger buses put end to end and weighs between 100 and 150 tons? To put that into perspective, it weighs more than a fully loaded 737. At birth, a baby blue whale is already 23 feet long and weighs 5,000 to 6,000 pounds. A nursing blue whale produces over 100 gallons of milk a day. Milk that's so rich that calves gain up to 9 pounds an hour. That's more than 200 pounds a day. We're talking a seriously high-fat diet. Now, you're probably wondering where this is all going. I mean, what do blue whales have to do with change? So I'll add one more little-known fact about the blue whale. A blue whale is so large that when it's swimming in one direction and it decides it wants to turn around, it takes a blue whale, get this, 3 to 5 minutes to turn 180 degrees and go in the opposite direction. I use this information to draw a parallel between the blue whale and our school system, because both seem to take forever to turn around. But if you walk past the gift shop, you come to what I consider to be the absolute centerpiece of the Monterey Aquarium. It's a 10-story, all-glass tank, inside of which live many of the creatures that are native to the Monterey Bay. Now, if you've ever read John Steinbeck's literary classic, Cannery Row, which took place in Monterey, you might recall that a century ago in the Monterey Bay, twice a year, out of nowhere would appear gigantic schools of fish. Specifically, they were gigantic schools of sardines that were the length, the width, and the depth of city blocks that had a mass, not of one or two, but of thousands of blue whales. But you see, there's a fundamental difference between the way a blue whale turns around, slowly, 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 and the way a school of sardines turn around, almost instantly. So the question is, how do sardines do that? How do they know when to turn? Are they using ESP? Is it Twitter? Are they using email? Text messages? To find out, we walked up to the tank, pressed our noses against the glass, and watched the gigantic swirling schools of sardines that were swimming around inside the tank. At first glance, it appeared that all of the sardines were swimming in the same direction. But as our eyes became adjusted to the dim light, we realized that at any one time there would be small groups of sardines that would be swimming in an opposite direction. They were swimming against the flow. And as they did this, they ran into other sardines swimming in the other direction, and this caused conflict and stress. But when a critical mass of truly committed sardines was finally reached, we're not talking 50 or 100% of the school, we're talking just 10 to 15% of the sardines, those who truly believed in the need for change, Then what happened was the rest of the school suddenly turned and followed. And that's exactly what's happened over the course of the past few years, with fundamental changes in our perspectives about issues such as racism, spousal abuse, smoking, drinking and driving, and politicians that lie. Well, maybe not that last one. You see, in reality, each and every one of the changes in our world is an overnight success that's years in the making, a change that starts with a small group of truly committed people who believe and persist despite the many obstacles and challenges they face. And that's why we're called Committed Sardines, because we're committed to reimagining education so that our schools better reflect the changing realities of our modern world. So, with this in mind, our question is, are you willing to become a committed sardine? Are you willing to swim against the flow, against conventional wisdom, against long-standing practices and traditional assumptions about education, and begin to move our schools, our teachers, our students, our parents, and our communities from where they are to where they need to be? The great American anthropologist Margaret Mead once wrote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." The takeaway from this video is that change does not start with your president, or your prime minister, or your superintendent, or your director, or your principal. Change starts with you. Change starts with me. Change starts with all of us working together. Change starts here, and it starts now. And you see, we can't just wait for others to change first before we begin. The longest journey starts with a single step. The greatest movement starts with a single individual. If change is going to be, it's up to me, it's up to you, it's up to all of us working together. And yes, change is hard, and yes, change takes time and effort. But if you want to hear about someone who had a life that was hard and full of challenges, it was definitely this woman here. This woman is Helen Keller. Here's a woman who lost her sight and her hearing at the age of 19 months. Yet despite her profound disabilities, here's a woman who learned to speak, who went on to become a college professor, who wrote more than 20 books, and is widely considered to be one of the greatest thinkers of the past 100 years. And later in her life, Helen Keller was approached by one of her students and asked a very simple question. "Miss Keller, what's it like to be blind?" And you see, Helen Keller thought about this for a moment and then responded as follows. She said, "The only thing worse than not being able to see is being able to see and having no vision." I'm going to say that again for emphasis. The only thing worse than not being able to see is being able to see and having no vision. Try to keep this in mind as you think about the challenges of change and what we can do starting right now to move our children, to move our families, to move our communities, and to move our schools from where they are to where they need to be. In closing, there's a message we'd like you to share with your friends, your family, and your colleagues. The message to them is this: whether they like it or not, whether they're ready for it or not, and whether they want it or not, I have to be very careful how I say this, shift happens. Shift happens. We all must become the change. We all must become the paradigm shift disturbers. And that is why we're called the Committed Sardines. Now, as a closing activity, please take a couple of minutes to summarize your takeaways. What's the message we're trying to send in this video? I want to thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this session, please leave a comment for us below. And if you have suggestions for sessions you'd like to watch, let us know. Remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you'll be notified when we post new videos. I want to thank you for watching. We hope to see you again soon.